is Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and greetings. I'm Magdalite Nagga from Pulse of Africa News. We highlight inspiring stories and key moments shaping Africa. Let's start with Africa pushing for UN Security Council reform as think tanks and diplomats call for permanent African seat. Africa has long been underrepresented in the United Nations Security Council, UNSC, despite accounting for roughly 60% of the Council's workload on peace and security issues. Since the UN's founding in 1945, only a few African countries, including Ethiopia, Morocco and Liberia, were original members, and no African nation holds a permanent seat today. Against this backdrop, African policy experts and diplomats are calling for urgent reform to ensure the continent has a permanent voice in the Security Council. The call came during a forum titled Sustaining the Momentum for UNSC Reform Amidst at a Dynamic Global Geopolitical Context, which brought together diplomats and experts linked to the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Solomon Ayali Darso, director of Amani African Media and Research Services, stressed the urgency of reform aimed at raising global instability. We are at an inflection point in the world, he said, citing W.B. Yeats, the second coming. The center cannot hold mere anarchy as loosed upon the world. He noted the number of conflicts worldwide has surged into unprecedented levels since World War II, with devastating consequences for civilians. From the Sahel to the Great Lakes, African countries continue to face severe humanitarian and socio-economic challenges.
It is very high time for reform and change. Not least of all, the reform, if not the overhaul of the UN Security Council. The legitimacy of the Council is under enormous pressure.
Darso questioned whether the current UN framework, shaped largely by post-war power dynamics, remains fit for purpose. Reforming the UNSC, if not a complete overhaul, has become imperative to ensure Africans' voice is heard and to maintain international peace and security, he said. Robert Afriye, Ghana's ambassador to Ethiopia, outlined Africans' historical struggle for representation. When UN membership expanded to around 110 countries in 1963, discussions to enlarge the Security Council led to more non-permanent seats, but now no need permanent seats were added. 60 years have passed since the last reform, yet Africa remains the only major regional group without permanent representation, Afriye said, emphasizing that equitable participation in global decision-making is long overdue.
20 years after the formation, there was a reform of the Security Council in terms of its structure. Now, it's been 60 years since that reform took place. Africa remains the only major regional group without a permanent seat on the Security Council. And whilst decisions are being made about peace and security in the world, with Africa usually occupying about 60% of the UN Security Council's work, it is not there as a permanent member. So Africa has made the demand that it should be represented permanently.
Noboru Sekiguchi, Japan's ambassador to the AU, also called for urgent reforms to reflect the realities of the 21st century. For nearly 80 years, the Security Council structure has remained largely unchanged, while many issues on its agenda directly reflect Africa, he said, urging the international community to address these historical imbalance. Sekiguchi noted Japan's support along the G4 group for both permanent and non-permanent representations for Africa.
If we act together, reform is achievable. Let me be clear. Japan and all the G4 members fully support the Common African Position, or CAP. The Security Council must be expanded in both the permanent and non-permanent categories. This position is supported by a majority of member states of the UN. Now is the time for us to take the next step together. The next step is to develop a consolidated model within the IGM, as also called for in the Pact for the Future.
The forum highlighted the growing consciousness among African and international stakeholders. Meaningful UNSC reform is critical to ensure the continent's interests are represented in global peace and security decisions. Ghana has extended its visa waiver agreement with St. Kitts and Nevis to include holders of ordinary passports, President John Dramani Mahama announced. Ghana and St. Kitts and Nevis originally signed the visa waiver agreement in 2018, but it applied only to a limited category of travelers. The new extension broadens the agreement, allowing more citizens from both countries to travel without a visa. President Mohammed said the move is expected to boost tourism, trade, and people-to-people exchange between the two nations. Easing travel requirements will encourage business partnerships and strengthen diplomatic ties.
Distinguished guests, I'm pleased to announce that Ghana and St. Kitts and Nevis have agreed to extend our 2018 visa waiver agreement. This was previously applicable to holders of only diplomatic and service passports. Now, this extension of the visa waiver includes holders of ordinary passports. We stand in solidarity with St. Kitts and Nevis in advocating for climate justice, equitable access to climate finance, and reform of global financial institutions to reflect the realities of developing nations.
The expanded visa-free access is a reflection of growing cooperation between Ghana and St. Kitts and Nevis, aligning with broader efforts to promote international mobility and economic collaboration. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Terence Michael Drew, said the two countries have significant opportunities to deepen cooperation across various sectors.
And we have a scarcity of healthcare professionals, and we already have a number of Ghanaian nurses who have come to St. Kitts and Nevis. They started to work, I think, within the last 3 to 4 weeks. And I can say to you, without a doubt, that they are well received, they are well trained, the people have received them well, and I've been asked to ask His Excellency, the President, for more Ghanaian nurses.
Analysts also note that improved travel access could increase investment opportunities and cultural exchange, further deepening relations between the West African and Caribbean nations. Vocational education in Senegal is gaining momentum as the country looks for new ways to tackle youth unemployment and boost economic growth. At the Institut Superieur d'Enseignement Professional and Thesis, classrooms and workshops are buzzing with practical learning. In one studio, Nicole Dediu checks sound levels before greeting her students, according to the World Bank. A graduate of the Institute Multimedia program she now works as a sound technician at a Radio Fusion Television des Senegalese, while also teaching workshops at her former school. Her journey from student to professional to mentor reflects how hands-on training is opening new paths for young people. With more than half of its population under 25, Senegal is investing in youth skills, yet in 2019, only about 3.5% of students were enrolled in short-term technical or vocational programs. The situation began to exchange in 2013 when ISEP THEIS was established as the country's first public tertiary vocational institute. According to Deputy Director Muhunde Sanoko, the programs are designed around industry needs, and around 90% of the graduates have entered the job market since the first class finished in 2014. Training at the institute combined classrooms learning with hands-on practice in fields such as energy, agriculture, logistics, construction, tourism, and ICT. Students also complete internships with private companies. Renewable energy student Sergeni Modu Mabunge says the approach helps connect theory with real-world problems and even encourage students to consider launching their own businesses. The success of the institute has led to expansion with support from World Bank. ISEP THEIS has trained more than 7,300 students in a decade, nearly half of them women, with employment rates close to 90% after graduation. As of May 2025, nearly 15,000 students, including almost 8,000 women, were enrolled in the growing ISEP network. For graduates like Nicole, the model shows that practical industry-focused education can create real opportunities and help drive national development. The government of South Africa announced that it is engaging with Gilead Sciences to pursue an agreement that would enable local production of lenacapavir, a revolutionary long-acting HIV prevention drug. As part of these efforts and in collaboration with UNITAID, USB, and other partners, the government has published a call for expression of interest that would assist in identifying South African pharmaceuticals manufacturers capable of producing quality-assured lenacapavir. Originally developed by Gilead, lenacapavir is a twice-yearly injection that has demonstrated near-complete effectiveness in preventing HIV. It is widely considered one of the most promising new tools to reduce infections, particularly in high-burden countries. A seventh license for a South African-based manufacturer would further diversify global supply and align production more closely with the region that carries the highest HIV burden. Producing lenacapavir closer to where it is most needed could accelerate the pathway from innovation to access and help ensure more predictable, sustainable supply. It would also strengthen the region's ability to respond to its own health priorities, especially as countries move towards long-term domestic financing. The newly launched expression of interest forms a part of coordinated national efforts led by the South African National AIDS Council, SANAC, that aspires to produce both the active pharmaceutical ingredient and the finished product in South Africa. If successful, this would expand regional manufacturing capacity in sub-Saharan Africa and strengthen long-term supply resilience. Through these requests for proposals, South Africa will assess manufacturer technical capabilities, regulatory compliance, and commitment to equitable access. Turning now to business news, we have Wamakele Meni, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, visited Seychelles Fisheries Authority in Victoria to discuss opportunities for the fisheries and blue economy sectors under the AfCFTA framework. The technical talks highlighted fisheries as a strategic export sector for Seychelles and explored ways to expand intra-African trade in fish and seafood products. Participants examined how developing regional value chains in fish processing and marine products can help Seychelles increase markets access across African markets. The decision also emphasized strengthening the broader fisheries ecosystem, including logistic, port services, cold chain infrastructure, and processing industries to support sustainable growth in seafood exports through the continent. Many highlighted the role of Pan-African institutions, including Afreximbank, in providing financing project supports and investment to unlock the full potential of Africans' fisheries and blue economy value chains. The AfCFTA launched in 2021 as Africa's flagship trade agreement, aiming to create a single continental market for goods and services. Fisheries and the blue economy are vital for island economies like Seychelles, providing both employment and foreign exchange. By leveraging AfCFTA mechanisms and regional value chains, Seychelles aims to diversify exports, increase competitiveness, and strengthen sustainable development across the continent. The initiative also aligns with broader efforts to boost intra-African trade and deepen regional economic integration. African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, has claimed the top spot as both mandated lead arranger and book runner in the 2025 Bloomberg Africa Borrower Loans League tables. While ranking third as administrative agent, the bank's leadership reflects its role in arranging debt solutions and mobilizing large-scale capital from diverse investors to support Africans' economic growth. As book runner, Afreximbank held 21.66% market share across 14 deals, and as mandated lead arranger, it accounted for 23.65% share across 20 transactions. Primary in the oil and gas sector, its administrative agent ranking include 13 deals and a 13.92% market share. Hayatham Al-Mairaji, Executive Vice President, Global Trade Bank at Afreximbank, said the ranging affirms the bank's commitment to facilitate capital flows, promoting high-impact investments and bridging financial gaps across African critical sectors. Now to sport news. Mexico City marked 100 days to go until the start of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, with a light projection on the Torre Latinoamericana and the countdown event in the capital. Renovation work continues at the iconic Estadio Azteca, officially known as Banorte Stadium. The facility is set to become the first venue in history to host 3 World Cup opening matches when the tournament kicks off on June 11th. Mexico is co-hosting the competition with the United States and Canada. The Azteca will stage 5 matches in total, including 2 knockout fixtures. Stadium director Felix Aguirre said the venue will be ready while preserving its historical legacy, reinforcing the tournaments owned there by Brazil in 1970 and Argentina in 1986. The stadium is expected to reopen in March with a friendly between Mexico and Portugal, although Aguirre previously said the renovation works would be completed by the end of February. Ethiopia will host a World Athletics one-day meeting for the first time in its history on April 18, 2026 in Addis Ababa. The landmark event, now officially included in the World Athletics International calendar, marks a significant breakthrough for Ethiopian athletics and highlights the country's growing role in global sports. The opportunity comes after a two-day working visit by World Athletics Director of Competitions, Piers Okalagan, who assessed local facilities and confirmed Ethiopia's capacity to successfully stage international competitions. The meeting is expected to attract top athletes from around the world, feature competitive prize awards, and provide vulnerable professional exposures for Ethiopian sports officials and organizers, who will work closely with the international experts. The Ethiopian Athletics Federation expressed gratitude to World Athletics and the Ministry of Culture and Sport for their support, reaffirming its commitment to strengthening international supports, partnerships, and advancing athletics development in the country. Now let's take a look at the weather forecast across Africa. That's all for the hour. We invite you to watch our weekly program, El Dorado. Thank you for tuning in and goodbye.
El Dorado, a land of wealth, a future of limitless possibilities. This is El Dorado. From natural rich to groundbreaking innovations, discover Africa's untapped potential. El Dorado, unveiling Africa's global potential.
Before the first light touched the Sahel, before the call to prayer echoes through coastal towns, before markets awaken in major capitals, Africa has already been in motion. In kitchens across the continent, water is poured, bread is warmed, families gather quietly in the pre-dawn hours for suhoor, the final meal before fasting begins. This is not an ordinary month. Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic lunar calendar, is observed by Muslims through fasting from dawn until sunset. It is a month of restraint, prayer, reflection, charity, and renowned discipline. With over 250 million Muslims across the continent, Africa is one of the world's most significant centers of Islamic life. When Ramadan begins, entire societies adjust, not symbolically, but structurally. Work schedules shift, market hours expand, spending patterns intensify, charity multiples. You're watching Pulse of Africa. I am Magdalite Nagga, and we are journeying into the heart of Ramadan in Africa, exploring not only how it is observed, but also uncovering its history, celebrating its culture, tracing its commerce, and highlighting its unique features. What makes Ramadan in Africa unforgettable is its diversity, expressed most vividly through culture and food. Across West Africa, families gather around large communal platters. Millet-based dishes, rice meals, grilled meats, and sweet drinks are shared collectively. The act of breaking the fast is rarely solitary. In northern Africa, in countries such as Morocco and Egypt, evening tables often include haria soup, dates, flatbreads, and pastries soaked in honey. Lanterns illuminate streets, cafes fill after prayers. In the Horn of Africa, particularly in Ethiopia, in historical sites like Harar, Ramadan nights are layered with strong coffee ceremonies after iftar, community recitations, and shared injera plates. Along the Swahili coast, including Zanzibar, coconut-infused rice dishes, spiced stews, and sweet pastries define the culinary landscape of the month. Despite regional differences, one food remains universally symbolic: dates. Breaking the fast with dates follows prophetic traditions, and across Africa, imports and local distributions of dates rise sharply. During Ramadan, food is not simply consumption. It is identity, it is memory, and it is the heritage transmitted across generations. Ramadan transforms food markets across Africa in measurable ways. Urban household food spending can rise between 20 to 30% during the month. Certain commodities experience concentrated demands, such as dates consumed daily at sunset, sugar for juice, tea and desserts, cooking oil for fried foods and pastries, rice and wheat flour, staples for large evening meals, livestock, especially sheep and goats. In countries such as Nigeria, Senegal, Ethiopia, and Egypt, wholesale markets prepare for increased turnover weeks before Ramadan begins. Butchers extend working hours, bakeries increase night production, street vendors multiply in urban centers, tea and juice stalls thrive in the hours leading to sunset. In many cities, the most economically vibrant moment of the day becomes the hour before iftar. The atmosphere is charged, not chaotic, but purposeful. Ramadan does not slow African markets, it concentrates them. Ramadan is also the peak season for charity. Zakat, the obligatory alms, and voluntary sadaq increase significantly during this period. Studies across Muslim-majority societies suggest that up to 30 to 40% of annual charitable giving occurs during Ramadan. In African context, this translates into direct cash support to low-income families, community food distributions, mosque-led assistance programs, debt relief within neighborhoods. Money moves downwards, resource circulates locally. Even diaspora communities participate, increasing remittance and digital transfer back home. Ramadan therefore becomes a decentralized economic redistribution, systems operating through faith-based obligations. For 1 month, generosity is not theoretical, it is measurable. Ramadan also reshapes media and commercial strategy. In North Africa, particularly in Morocco and Egypt, Ramadan represents the highest annual television advertising season. Evening programming attracts record audiences after iftar, and corporations compete intensely for visibility. Night economies expand, retail stores operate past midnight, cafes fill after Arwa prayers, transportation activity increases during evening hours. This is a month where economic energy shifts from daylight to nightfall, a reversal of routine, a restructuring of time. Ramadan in Africa is not only about abstaining from food, it is about alignment of faith and discipline, alignment of culture and continuity, alignment of markets and morality. From the early refuge in Ethiopia to the thriving food markets of West and North Africa today, Ramadan remains one of the continent's most powerful annual transformations. For a month, millions rise before dawn together, millions break their fast together, markets surge together, communities give together. It is a heritage in motion. It is economy with conscience. It is Africa synchronized. This is not simply observance. It is a continental rhythm. You're watching Pulse of Africa. Stay connected, stay informed, and stay with us.
El Dorado, a land of wealth, a future of limited possibilities. This is El Dorado. From natural reach to groundbreaking innovations, discover Africa's untapped potential. El Dorado, unveiling Africa's global potential.